Hello, welcome to my channel WWE Pulse.
The Intercontinental Championship is one of the most prestigious and coveted titles in all of WWE. And while it is not quite at the same level as the likes of the World Championship or the Universal Championship, it's still a hugely important prize for any superstar to win. The IC title has been around since the very beginning of WWE, back when it was still called the WWF. And over the years, some of the biggest names in wrestling have held this championship, including some of the greatest WWE superstars of all time. But who are the greatest Intercontinental champions? Whoa! That's what we're gonna find out today. Welcome back, everyone. I'm your host, and let's get right into it. No one, Mr. Perfect. The Intercontinental Championship is often referred to as the workhorse title in WWE. It is usually held by the best in-ring performer in the company, the guy or girl who wrestles every single week on Raw and SmackDown and puts on clinic after clinic inside the squared circle. No, there are multiple people who could take the spot at no one on this list. But Mr. Perfect is my pick. Not only was he the original winner of the Intercontinental Championship way back in 1988, but he would go on to become a four-time champion overall and would hold the belt for a combined total of nearly 2 years during his career. He defended the IC title against some of the best WWE had to offer, including the Ultimate Warrior, The Undertaker, and even Hulk Hogan. In fact, Mr. Perfect was so good that WWE actually used him to test out new finishing moves before they became official signature moves. This is why you may be familiar with a move known as the Perfect Plex, even though you may not remember Mr. Perfect himself. Number dos, Razor Ramon. As I mentioned earlier, the Intercontinental Championship is often a stepping stone to the big one, the WWE Championship. And this is exactly how it was for Razor Ramon, who won the IC title in 1991 after cashing in Money in the Bank. After winning the championship from the Ultimate Warrior at SummerSlam, Razor Ramon would defend the title against a number of top stars, including the aforementioned Mr. Perfect, as well as the likes of Shawn Michaels and Bob Backlund. After losing the IC title to the British Bulldog in November of 1991, Razor would go on to capture the WWE Championship in December, beginning his reign as one of the few superstars to ever hold both the IC and World titles simultaneously. His run as champion didn't last long. However, as he dropped the belt back to the Bulldog at the Royal Rumble in January of 1992, number 3, Chris Richo. Chris Jericho is another superstar who could easily take the one spot on this list. That's just how great he's been throughout his legendary career in WWE. Y2J is a 9-time Intercontinental Champion, which is a record for most reigns with the title, as well as a record for most days combined holding the championship. In fact, Chris Jericho actually holds the record for most combined days as both the IC and European champion. And his first reign as Intercontinental Champion lasted for a staggering 488 days, which is also a record for the longest single reign with the title. During his initial run as IC champ, Jericho successfully defended the championship against the likes of The Rock, Edge, and Jeff Hardy. He would drop the belt to Eddie Guerrero in September of 2001, but would go on to regain the championship a year later and once again begin feuding with the top stars in WWE. No, for The Miz. The Miz is another superstar who could easily find himself at no one on this list. That's how dominant he's been with the Intercontinental Championship. The awesome one is an 8-time champion, trailing only Chris Jericho for most reigns in WWE history. His first reign as IC champ lasted for 137 days, while his second lasted for 168 days. And he would go on to capture the title 6 more times following that. In fact, The Miz actually held the Intercontinental Championship for over 100 days on 3 separate occasions. The Miz has defended the IC title against a virtual who's who of WWE superstars, including John Cena, Randy Orton, Kofi Kingston, Rey Mysterio, Daniel Bryan, and even the legendary Stone Cold Steve Austin. Unfortunately, The Miz would never go on to capture the WWE Championship during his career. But if ARD likely would have joined the likes of Y2, Jay, and Razor Ramon is one of the few superstars to ever hold both the IC and World titles simultaneously. Number 5, Honky Tonk Man. Honky Tonk Man is a name synonymous with country western music and professional wrestling, and while many fans may not remember much about this guitar-playing showman, he did have a pretty decent career in WWE, most notably as an in-ring competitor during the late 1980s and early 1990s. But perhaps what Honky Tonk Man is most famous for during his career is the fact that he managed to hold the Intercontinental Championship for a whopping 459 days, which is a record for the longest single reign with the title. He captured the championship from Ricky Steamboat in June of 1987 and would successfully defend the belt against a number of top stars, including the Junkyard Dog, Tito Santana, and the aforementioned Steamboat. However, his reign would come to an end in September of 1988 when he lost the title to the Ultimate Warrior in a match at the 1988 Survivor Series. Even though Honky Tonk Man is largely remembered as a manager today, he was a talented wrestler and a solid Intercontinental Champion. No. 6. Roddy Piper. Roddy Piper needs no introduction. He is one of the most recognizable and legendary figures in professional wrestling history, and his contributions to the sport will never be forgotten. The Hot Rod was never shy about making bold statements and backing them up with actions, and he did just that when he captured the Intercontinental Championship from Tito Santana in June of 1988. Piper would go on to feud with some of the biggest names in WWE over the title, including the Ultimate Warrior, Honky Tonk Man, and even Hulk Hogan. Sadly, however, Piper would never win the WWE Championship during his career, but even so, he went on to be inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame in 2005. Number 7. Shawn Michaels. Shawn Michaels is yet another superstar who could honestly find himself in the top spot on this list. After all, HBK was widely regarded as the greatest Intercontinental Champion of all time during his career. Shawn won the championship 3 times, and his matches for the title were some of the most highly anticipated events on the WWE calendar. He feuded with the best in the company over the IC title, including the likes of Razor Ramon, the British Bulldog, and his best friend, Marty. Shawn's first reign as Intercontinental Champion lasted for 359 days, which was a record at the time, and he would go on to capture the title twice more after that. In fact, Michaels was the first superstar to win the IC title 2 times, a feat that would later be matched by the likes of Chris Jericho, The Miz, and Drew McIntyre. While Shawn Michaels never won the WWE Championship during his career, he went on to become a 3-time world champion later on in his career as a member of D-Generation X. Now, 8. The Rock. The Rock needs no introduction. He is one of the most electrifying and charismatic performers in WWE history, and he is also one of the most successful. In fact, The Rock is the 7th Triple Crown winner in WWE history, having won the WWE Championship 3 times, the Intercontinental Championship 5 times, and the European Championship once. His first reign as IC champ lasted for 133 days, while his second lasted for 168 days, and he would go on to capture the title a total of 5 times during his career. The Rock has defended the IC title against some of the best WWE has to offer, including Triple H, Mankind, and even Mick Foley. And he is also notable for being the last person to win the IC title before it was replaced by the European Championship in 1997. Number 9, Pedro Morales. Pedro Morales is yet another legend who finds himself on this list. He is a 2-time WWE champion and a 3-time Intercontinental champion. In fact, Pedro is the only wrestler in history to have won the WWF, WWE Championship, and the Intercontinental Championship in the same year. He accomplished this feat in 1971 when he captured the WWF Championship from Bruno and then won the IC title from the Grand Wizard of the WWF, Professor Toru Tanaka. Pedro would go on to lose both titles to Sten Stasiak in a controversial match later that year, but he would regain the Intercontinental Championship from Stasiak in 1972 and successfully defended against the likes of Stan Hansen and Arionides. Unfortunately, Pedro's 3rd reign as IC champ would be cut short when he suffered a serious knee injury. This forced him to vacate the championship in March of 1973. But despite his injury, Pedro would go on to be inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame in 1992. Number 10, Edge. The rated R superstar is yet another legend who could easily find himself at no 1 on this list. That's how dominant he was with the Intercontinental Championship during his career. In fact, Edge is a 2-time IC champ, and he was also the last man to ever win the championship before it was rebranded as the WWE Intercontinental Championship in 2010. Edge's first reign as Intercontinental Champion lasted for 274 days, while his second lasted for 186 days. And he would go on to capture the title a total of 11 times. In fact, Edge actually shares the record for most reigns with the title, along with the likes of Chris Jericho and The Miz. During his career, Edge has defended the IC title against some of the best WWE has to offer, including John Cena, Randy Orton, and even The Undertaker. But perhaps what Edge is most famous for is the fact that he managed to hold the Intercontinental and World Heavyweight Championships simultaneously on 2 separate occasions This made him one of the few superstars to ever hold both the IC and World titles simultaneously, along with the likes of Razor Ramon, Chris Redicho, and The Miz. Well, that's it for this list. Thank you all so much for watching. Until next time, see ya!
Okay guys, thank you for watching my videos.